everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Lennox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Lennox. Here to remind you that this really is the best season of your life. I am excited about all the stories I have been hearing of how people are being transformed and renewed and coming into their truth, coming into a an experience of freedom, a level of expansion. Why? Because they're opening their mind, they are waking up, they are coming into their fullness, their aliveness, themselves, to recognize and know who they are, to acknowledge, admit, and own the fact that they are a magnificent creative being. If you don't know that, my friend, if you don't admit that, no one can do it for you. So I encourage you to pay attention. I was in touch with someone today, and I was sharing. This person just not just, recently passed the bar. It was the first time she took it, and she passed the bar. And now she's a full-fledged attorney at law. And I'm so proud of of her because her story is quite interesting. She's got two kids, single mom, and one kid is a special needs and so forth. And just a few years back, she decided she wanted to pursue her dreams, her desires. She really wanted to become an attorney, and she made a decision. She did what she did, took the courses and so forth. In the meantime, she's raising two kids, and one is about to graduate from high school and so forth. And she did it, and she passed the bar. Generally, as I know it, as I understand, the bar is something many people have to take over and over and over because it's difficult. And I don't know how they score, if you have to pass, answer every question or whatever. But the point is, it was her first time, and she passed the bar. And she mentioned it to me when I think it was 2 years ago. But of course, now she's in the midst of her career, and we're talking about confidence and about experiences and about being assertive and how confidence is a skill. Because being an attorney, the first thing you have to demonstrate is strength, conviction, and credibility, that you know what you're doing and you believe in your client, your case, and so forth. And so we were talking about that, and with a little more flavor, because this person is of a foreign background, but practices here in the U.S., but has a culture that's dominant, a culture that where these people, where they as a matter of fact, the whole dialogue was, I don't even know how not to be confident, because when you grow up with women that are confident, educated, and feminine, that is what you become. So you don't know anything other than that. And in most cases, you will find when you're in the workplace, people would say, oh yes, you're intimidating. And that's not really the case. In that case, I would say, no. You are intimidated. I'm not intimidated. I remember when I was in corporate America, I was in a certain department, and I remember it used to be said, or it was said, that I was unapproachable. And I when I heard that, I know me, and I know that, I knew my responsibilities and so forth, and my intention with my employees and so forth. And so it was concerning. And after a while, I realized that I was not there to play. My style may have been a little different, but when you approach life, when you know who you are, and when you approach life with certain sense of confidence and being assertive, because you know what you're responsible to do, and You're really not afraid to make decisions and to say no and to really come out of your comfort zone and do whatever you need to do. And yeah, so that I am familiar with that whole thing about being unapproachable, which is maybe another synonym for being intimidating. But I was sharing with this person today. I said, no, I wasn't intimidating. I was whoever said that may have been intimidated. And usually that is projection. That is people that may be insecure. They don't really know themselves and they don't really have a sense of self. And, they're projecting their insecurity and so forth. So I was making sure that this person know never to shrink yourself for anyone, because what I have learned is that society really uh, condition us. Society really teach us to shrink so that others will not be discomforted. To soothe the comfort of others, you need to be low key, play it down, and don't be too what they would call arrogant or prideful or boastful or show off. And it's none of that. When you are confident, it's like when I talk with people, when I coach, I always say, when they talk about their accomplishment, he says, well, I don't really blow that up a lot. And I would get into why. I said, you don't need to blow it up. It may be semantics that we're talking, but what you need to do is to own your win. Own it. Own it as if you're the one with the ability. You're the one with the discipline. You're the one that practiced. You're the one that studied. You're the one that did the research. You are the one. So if you don't own it, then it's almost like you are negating the efforts that you put into it. So you have to own it. You have to own everything. And this whole thing about, the social structure, that's what I do on this show. And I am fascinated by it because what we do is we dismantle, we deconstruct, we crush those traditional norms and conventional practices that we follow, and most of those things no longer apply to us today, and we need to make sure that we can just really get away from it. We can, because what happens, it will continue to hinder your life. It'll keep you stuck. And in most cases, we stay stuck because we are afraid of hurting someone. We don't want to hurt people, or we are afraid of what would someone say about us. What would they think? What will they say? How will they see us? And nothing of that. People have issues. People have issues of their own. So don't waste time thinking what will people say. And even if they say something or think something, unless it's something that they come to you and share, it doesn't matter what people think or what they say. I always say you are free to do whatever you want to do, as long as your freedom, your choices do not infringe on the freedom of another person. You can do whatever you want to do. Simply don't hurt someone else and don't infringe on their freedom, because they have a right as well to space. But as long as you are aware of who you are, and what we are finding is that most people don't. And that's why the world is the way it is. Because if you knew who you are, when you know who you are, you understand and you will see the value in other people, the worth. And you will know that you can navigate through life and set up your own life, create the life that you want for yourself, and not have to wait for things to happen. You make things happen. And that's why you are a magnificent creative being. that's not just a cliche. That's not just a phrase. Think of it. You are a magnificent creative being. Once you start thinking in those terms, my friend, then you start seeing things differently. You start realizing that anything that you want, anything that you wish for, anything that you desire, goals, dreams, whatever you have projected, whatever you have in your heart that you desire, that you want, and don't get it twisted. It's not a bad thing to want things, whether it's material things, emotional things, or whatever, mental, intellectual, whatever it is that you want. It's not a bad thing. Again, as long as your desires does not infringe on the desires of others, then you are free to do or want, desire, wish for, or set the goals that you want. So keep that in mind. Now, there was this conversation about money, and we're going to talk about money today because it seems like it's such a money has become such a demon in people's lives, and then they wonder why they're broke, busted, disgusted, poor, lack, and all of that. And I'm trying to tell you, no, it's not. Money is neutral. Money is not a demon. And so there was this conversation about money is bad and money is evil and all of that. And they were just demonizing money. And here I come to the rescue, and I said, well, during that whole dialogue, I didn't voice any opinion at all, because I know my opinions are, can be polemic. And I said, when I came on, they said, well, what do you think? I said, well, money, I love money. And, of course, that just raised some eyebrows and got people thinking and, giving me the side eye. And so I said, yeah, of course I love money. And then somebody said, well, money can't buy happiness. And I said, well, yes, it can. Yes, it can. And so they said, well, how can money buy happiness and blah, blah. I said, well, if you have a family member that's ill, or one of the ways, if you have a family member that's ill and needs some extensive medical care and medical treatment and so forth, if you have the money, you can take them to where the most advanced medical technology is to give them treatment that would prolong their lives, gives you a little more time with that person. If this person if they say, I remember there was this situation where was this husband and wife, and she came down with an ailment, and the doctor gave her, limited time to live and so forth. And then they discovered that in certain region of another country, there was this doctor that administered a lot of, I guess, what is it called? Natural healing protocol and so forth. And they packed up their stuff and they went to that place, and her life was extended a little more than what was the prognosis was. So they got to enjoy more time together. Now, if you don't have money, you couldn't do that. I know another person whose husband became very ill, and they travel all over the world, to different parts of the world, to get stem cell treatment. And that is a very expensive process, a very expensive procedure, very, very expensive procedure. And they did that. Instead of him living like, months, the husband was able to live over 5 years. So in the meantime, when he felt well, they were able to live and enjoy each other. So yeah, money brings a little bit of happiness. Depends on how you see it. I can think of another situation, this woman who could not have kids. And she wanted kids. She wanted to be a mother so strongly. And what did she do? She did what is it called? In virtual treatment. And each treatment costs like an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, like thousands of dollars. And she did it once, it didn't work. She did it another time, it didn't work. She did it a fourth time, it did a third time, it didn't work. And at the fourth time, it did work. And she was able to conceive and she bore a son. And she is so happy with her son. So, money, if she didn't have the money to go through those steps and pay for that procedure, she would not have had the opportunity she would not have had the opportunity. Well, who knows if she would have born a child on her own, because she was trying for years and years and had some medical situations in her reproductive organs that kind of prevented her, and always aborted until finally she was able to do that. But by then, it's interesting because by then she had gotten divorced and still wanted a child. And when she had the child, she was single, and she did the in vitro and whatever, and she has the little bambino boy. So yeah, money does bring, you know what? Let's look at it this way. Instead of demonizing money, and instead of going through all this linguistic loophole as to about money and trying to define it and using all these kind of semantics, money is just a piece of paper that we assign certain value to it. It's just a piece of paper. For me, life is based on resources. I put a lot of attention into resources, because if you need a car and somebody gives you a car, then you may have been desiring for money to buy a car. But if someone gives you a car, you see, it just, money was not attached to it. Money was not involved. It was a gift. So that's how I conduct my life, based on resources and alignment, being in the right place at the right time. Money comes and it flows and it just circulates, and I attract the things that I want. Now, for those of you that say money is evil and thinking that it may give you tendency to be greedy, to be corrupt, and all of that, of course, but money is not corrupt in itself. It's the people that are corrupt. And what happens is that money doesn't change you. Money simply reveals the person that you are. Money reveals the person that you are. If you are a generous person now, and you come into a boatload of money, you will continue to be a generous person. If you were a person that hoards things, or live in fear, or cheap in everything, then you will continue to be that as well, keeping things just in case, or putting money or saving money just in case, and all of that. It will reveal your true character. Now, all of the things that you need, want, desire, dream of, set goals, and so forth, most people, you and I, we all want a life of least struggle. I don't know of one person that desire a life of struggle, where they have to struggle for things, where they have to, work 2 jobs to make ends meet, where they have to work overtime, double time, triple time, working on days off, working 2 jobs, working online to make, as a side hustle to make money. And there's no one that really wants to do that. We want a life of comfort. And in most cases, when you desire those things like more comfort, more safety, more experiences, more travel, a better school for your kids, better health care, better surrounding. If you live in a community that is underprivileged, not the right schools that you want for your kids, not the right safety experiences and all that, you would want to level up. Most people would want to level up, and given the money, they would level up and move someplace else where they're safe, and where there are better schools, where the community has better access to health care and just the comfort of life. So when you say, I would just love to travel, guess what? Guess what you need for that? Money. So you may not say, I want more money, but the things that you desire, aspire, wish, hope, dream for requires money. So we ought not to approach this with the hypocrisy to demonize money, to demonize and to speak bad about money, because what happens is that you are creating your own deficit. I've shared in my in previous shows how the cells in your body, your mind, your brain is like a computer, and your thoughts and your words register the things that you say. And when you demonize, if you say, well, I don't want to have a lot of money, your brain registers that information, and then it acts accordingly. It'll make sure that your wish comes through. It'll make sure that your wish of not having a whole lot comes through. You'll continue to work the job that you don't like, 2 jobs, overtime, double time, triple time, picking up shift over here, doing this, doing that, things that takes away the time away from you being with your family. That's what happens when you demonize money. Your brain tells you, well, you don't like it. Well, I'm going to give you opportunities. I'm going to give you situations where you won't have enough. You won't have the relief. You won't have the possibilities. You won't have the experiences. Travel out of the window, that's not even in the equation. Your kids in the same school, your everything will remain the same. But when you're bold enough, like me, to say, I love money, and I say that unapologetically. I say that unapologetically, and I mean it. And I am of the belief that money, yes, brings you happiness. Why? Because it enables you to do the things that you want to do. It enables you to do the things that you want to do. Of course, you can go through life just hoping and wishing, and and some people they resort to prayer, but year after year after year after year, you look at them and they are at the same place. They're at the same place. And you say, well, what happened? Well, when you lack understanding of the dynamics of money, of the resources that you need to go through life, to navigate through life. If you have money, if you don't like being here, you can move and go over there. If you have money, you can go out to dinner and eat and have a beautiful life. You can travel. There was this person that I know, the kids are in private school and they're doing well. And then the older kid comes a point that they were not really developing. They were not really progressing in the school, and it was a private school. And so the kid tells the mother that she, she wanted to go to this other school. Now, this other school is like twice the tuition, like twice as much. As a matter of fact, not even twice as much, like three times the tuition of what she was paying at this particular school. And uh, the parents were, they were between a hard place and a rock, because not only do they want to give their daughter the education that she wants, and if there's a situation in the school, after talking with the principal, the teachers, and all that, they realized it really wasn't anything like bullying or anything like that. It's just that she knew her tempo, her cadence, as far as how she should be progressing, and she realized that she wasn't. And so her mother resorted to check with other mothers with kids her age and so forth, and many of them said to her, "Oh yeah, my daughter went through that, or my kid went through that, and I moved them, and now they're doing fine." Anyway, she finally made a decision. The parents finally made a decision to move the kid, to move the teenager. This is like her junior year, I believe it is, and to move her from that school, which is a good school, the one that she's in now, to the school, level up, costing like twice as much. And the parents are professional, so it would put them in a whole different category. They may have to make some adjustments, but she did. Why? Because she knew, and as a matter of fact, as a result, the daughter is doing a whole lot better socially, academically, intellectually. She's doing a whole lot better. So what's that? That was a decision that they made after doing all the research and so forth. That was a decision that they made, but it costs money. Now, if they didn't have the resources, the means to provide that for their kids. So when you say, "I don't love money," it's not even a matter of it's what money does, because money is neutral. You get $100 bill here in one $100 bill, and five $20 bill. It's still $100, and they don't compete with each other. You have the fact that you have five $20 bill doesn't mean that you have more. All you do is you're taking up more space, but it's neutral. $100 $100 bill and five $20 bill. So money is neutral. So quit the linguistics and all that semantics about, what is it? One would say money is evil, and then the other person would correct and say, no, the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, no. I can love money because I'm able to do the things that I want. When I can go to the store and buy whatever, a piece of jewelry or shoes or dress, whatever it is, and pay with ease, because that's what money does also. It brings you ease in life, where you don't have to fret and worry. How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? It brings you relief. It brings you power, expansion, mobility. It allows you, it enables you to do the things that you want to do. So who has told you that? And why are you living by that old traditional mindset that money is evil, or even the love of money is evil? Now, you don't have to go around saying you love money. I don't. But I can tell you right now, you ask my husband, and he'll tell you, yeah, she likes it. As a matter of fact, we went out to do some shopping over the weekend, and it was for him. And we went into this specialty clothing store, and we had a great interaction with the owner. It was phenomenal. My husband tried on the pair of slacks. It fit beautifully. And I said, I just love it, and so on and so forth. And so when we decided that he's going to have it, he's going to buy it. So my husband said, as a matter of fact, he had no idea how much was the price of the garment. And so the guy told him, and he said, well, it's this amount. And it was quite expensive, for a piece of garment. And it's all relative. When I say expensive, it's just that it's out of the ordinary, because it was like an Italian made and so forth. And it was just out of the ordinary. Really nice structure, material, everything, the texture, everything. As a matter of fact, I said to him, because, my husband, whenever he goes shopping, he always wants me with him, second set of eyes, he calls it. And he likes it when I can affirm, or that's just his thing. He just likes when I'm there. He would never go shopping like for clothing, for something, formal or whatever, without me. That's just what works for us. So the guy said, this is what it costs. And we said, okay. And then the guy said, but if you pay cash, then it would be this amount. And it was substantially, a good amount less. So my husband says, oh. And, he's thinking, he didn't have that amount of cash on him. And then I said, well, I'll pay for it. And so the guy looks at me, and my husband looks at me. My husband's always said me, do not go out without cash. Anyway, and I said, well, I'll pay for it. And I paid for it cash. I had the cash on hand. I just keep certain amount of cash with me. That's just, and this weekend, it just happened to be a certain amount. And I just paid for it. We got the garment at a lesser price just because we were able to pay cash. You see, and money had nothing to do with, money was just there sitting in my wallet with no purpose. Think of that. The money, the actual currency, had no purpose because I had not assigned it a purpose. Because if we went out to dinner, we would use our dining card, so forth. So that money was sitting in my wallet with no purpose. What did I do? I assign it a purpose. And it was in our favor. Because if you paid with a credit card, which that would have been easy, you pay with the credit card, but then you're paying this amount. And then, my husband's like, oh, you have all that money? He always tells me, don't go out without money. But that particular weekend, I just had X amount of money, dollars on me, and we were able to pay for it. So you see, money is sitting there, innocent, neutral, not bothering anyone, waiting for it to be assigned to something, waiting for us to take it someplace. And let me do this. Waiting for us to take it someplace and give it an assignment, because that's what we do. We give it an assignment, and it was sitting in my wallet without an assignment. And then here I come, and I'm saying, okay, you, and you're gonna do this, and here you are. And the guy is like, that'll work. And that worked perfect for us. So you see, it's not about, it's your mindset. It's your mindset. So don't let, get rid of all the semantics, and honor the innocence and the value of money, and stop vilifying money, because money does not create greed. It doesn't create exploitation, vanity, corruption. No, it's the people. And whatever you are now, it's just like, I think I talked before. I know I have talked before about this whole tipping culture, which is just, I was averse to it before, but now I've changed my mindset. And the way I see it is that uh, I can appreciate the fact that I am able to not only go out to eat, but in that I'm able to tip. Now, the server will determine how my money is used, because we don't like tip on a credit card. When the bill comes, I just do slash 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 0.0 where it says tip, and just pay the total for what we consumed. And then, of course, we give that person cash. And the reason I did that, well, you probably already know this, is because I know that I have asked servers before, when you get cash, do you have to share it? And they said, no, absolutely no. As a matter of fact, one waitress said to me, she says, "Oh, you have heard the voice of God," or something like that. We tipped her, and she was just so happy that it was cash. And I like to do that because, it's to them. They're the one who, anyway, that's just my mindset. And so the server actually determines the amount of money's tip that I would give. But then I am happy that I can do that I can tip. It's sometimes it's kind of out of hand, but and by the same token, if someone does not merit it, I have no issues in clicking on the no tip button, no tip, or skip it. I do that unapologetically. But in the restaurants, if you're sitting down in a restaurant, these waitresses, these servers, they're nice. They're working for their tips. You could see it, but I go by energy. It all depends on the energy that I feel. But it all has to do with money. And if you don't, the other day there was a situation where a guy went out to eat with I don't know how many people, four people or something like that, and the bill was like $385, and the server, at the table, seemed like they were a little not difficult, but just a little demanding. They wanted this, they wanted to alter this, change this, and so forth. Anyway, and she served them. So the bill comes, and he paid $385 and walked out. She comes running after him. She said, "Sir, you didn't leave a tip." And he said, "Well, I paid the bill." She said, "Yeah, but there were four of you and you didn't leave a tip." And in his mind, he was like, I don't have to leave a tip. And there was just the whole back and forth. His daughter was with him, and then the daughter's like, "Oh, Dad, how come how could you not leave a tip?" And it just created a situation outside of the restaurant, because the server followed him outside. Anyway, he insisted that he didn't have to leave a tip, and the daughter that was with him, she was aghast that her dad did not leave a tip. So she took out $300 out of her wallet and gave it to the server to end that whole confrontation situation. But then again, it's money. The daughter had cash on her, and in order to mitigate the situation, the altercation between the server and the dad, the daughter just, and she did it willingly because she just was surprised that her dad did not give a tip, leave a tip. And so she took out $300 and gave it to the server. The thing is this: when you have money, you can do things. And that was a kind deed, mitigate the situation with her dad, but at the same time, the person that was there, she said, this is, I'm looking for a job, and this is my only job, and I did my best to serve you and to provide, and you had all these changes and asking for all these things to, alter the menu and so forth, and then you don't leave a tip. And it was kind of sad. Now I understand his position, because tipping is not, and of course this show is not about tipping, but it has to do with money. The server needed, when you spend $300, she's expecting, a tip of at least, I don't know, $50, whatever, in case it should be more than that, $50, $75. I mean, whatever. But he didn't think it was his responsibility to pay her bill or to pay her salary. And I agree with him. It's not my responsibility to pay your salary. But in my mind, because money circulates, you hoard it and it stays right there. But I notice that as I am generous with money, when I give it and you get it back, and money just comes back. Money circulates. Money circulates. And in my mind, I allow my money to circulate. That's why I don't even think twice when when it's time, sometimes, in the street, people stop you, they ask you for money, and of course, you have to use wisdom with that. But then you go by your intuition. And if my intuition says give them, certain amount of money, you just do it. Don't demonize money. Don't vilify money. Money is not evil, my friend. Money is not wicked. Money is not bad. Money is good, and it is okay if you say you love money, because in most cases, in all cases, actually, you are wanting something better for your life. You are wanting to make either your life better or your kids' life better. Why do you think when people come into a big amount of money, whether it's by winning the lottery or whatever, what's the first thing that they do? Most people, the first thing they do is, in some cases, they help their family. Families that are struggling financially, they seek to help the family. But for themselves, what's the most thing that they do? We watch this HGTV, Millionaire Homes. David that sells, he's like a realtor, and he deals with people that are lottery winners. And, they win the lottery, and the first thing they want to do is to buy a big house. And he takes them to communities that are, before they used to show the before and after, like where they live. And some would say, well, we live in a one bedroom house, and we have 3 kids, and, 600 square feet apartment, not house, but apartment, and so forth. And from that, they expand their vision. And what are they going for? They are going for something like a big house. And they would say, and it would be, I get such pleasure in watching that show, because they would say things like, we want a big backyard, and we want a pool, and we want an open concept, and we need 5 bedrooms and maybe 5.5 bathrooms, because we want a guest bath, and we want each room to have its own bath. And the things, all the details that they get into, because why? They have desires, they have dreams and goals. And now that they have come into this unexpected, or, this delightful opportunity experience of having the money to buy what they want, it's amazing. What do people do? People go and they buy material things. In most cases, they'll move from one community to another community, sometimes to another state, and they go and they look at beautiful homes and big homes, and sometimes you look at the people and you look at the house, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're gonna have to adapt to this house, because coming from where they were to something like this, you have to get a mindset that really, so that you can embrace it and not feel some kind of way, like guilty or some kind of way for having achieved. Well, not achieved. That was just luck. That is just luck. And there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes you can't share your joy with others because people don't understand and people get jealous. You see, when you have the ability to do things, and just like I say, money circulates and it attracts. You attract money to yourself, and money circulates. But when you have that kind of mindset, of being generous and not having any issues or any linguistic, semantics with describing money and so forth. When you have clarity in your understanding, then you don't have to be jealous of anyone or envy, compare, or compete with anyone. You don't have to do that. Why? Because you have your own. You have your own capacity. Why? Because you are a magnificent, creative being. You have your own capacity to get the things that you want. And when you show appreciation for money, remember, I had some money with me over the weekend when I could pay for my husband's pants. The money was sitting in my wallet. It was neutral. It was not bothering anyone. It was sitting just right there in a beautiful wallet, just minding its own business, having no idea where it's going to land. It had no idea. And I had that, I had some large bills and I had it there for a while, but it had no idea where it was going to land. And it didn't care. It did not care. It's like, oh no, I don't want to go to the airlines. Oh no, I don't want to go to this specialty store. Oh no, I don't want to go to this steakhouse. No, it didn't care. Money doesn't care where it lands. All it knows is that it is going to go around the world. It is going to go around the world and be used and reused and used and reused and reused and reused and so forth. That's all money knows. I don't know if money knows that, but the point is, that's the truth. But because we've been conditioned for so long, you've been, there's so many things that you want to do, and you're hindered either because you don't have it, but you want to do things that cost money. Some people say, oh, I would just love to travel. I would love to travel and go here and there. Well, it costs money. It costs money. So when I say I love money, and money can bring you happiness, yeah, you're absolutely right. To be able to go wherever and buy whatever you want, you have to start looking at life totally different, my friend. And that's why, when I talk about dismantling all this traditional mumbo jumbo that's been conditioned in our minds, and it's not easy to get rid of it, because you hear it over and over. And then if you surround yourself with people that think that way, then it's hard to even get away from that mindset, from that thought process. You have to get away from that thought process. My husband and I have a lot of conversations about things like that, and he knows that I move based on alignment, and we both have that clear understanding of things of that nature. He laughs at me because he said that I'm merciless when it comes to when I talk about you have to know your circle, and if it doesn't fit, if you are not properly aligned, then you need to move on. And that's me, and I do that unapologetically. It's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It doesn't mean that I just drop people. No, I mean but I know what my inner circle, who they are, and we feed off of each other. Intellectually, we provide intellectual stimulation and things of just things that helps us grow and evolve and so forth. But my thing is getting rid of the traditional norms, the conventional construct, all the social construct that's imposed upon us. This couple, they're trying to decide, they're getting married, and they're trying to decide whether they should have a big wedding, for the family and all that, or just keep their money, buy a house, and travel. In my mind, I think this way. Why do you have to choose? You don't have to choose. Do both. Have a big wedding if that's your desire. Have a big wedding, and why would you think that you have to choose one or the other? Do both. You want to have a big wedding for $100,000? Have the big wedding, and know that you can do that. And then, plan to buy a house. You may think it sounds crazy, but when I tell you, you are a magnificent creative being, that is exactly who you are or what you are. That's how I see myself. And that's how you can see yourself as well. Why should you why should you put yourself in the position where you have to choose? Do both. You may want to scale down on some. I'm not, some people celebrate like a milestone anniversary or a milestone birthday and so forth. For me, my birthday, when I reached certain milestone, I remember one of my milestone birthdays. I said to my husband, I said, I want to wake up in Madrid. For my birthday, I want to wake up in Madrid. That was a milestone birthday. And that's exactly what I said. And that year was a very challenging year for us because, we had a family member, that passed away. And when it happened, we almost, we said that we're not going to do it. And then after a while, I came home and I was thinking about it. And I thought, wait a minute, it's my milestone birthday. It only happens once. The person is already passed. He's dead. And I'm going to miss this. So I had a conversation with my husband. I could not, we could not justify. Why would we not go? Why would we not go? We had tickets, we had hotel, we had everything in place already. Why would we not go? If you're grieving, you can grieve wherever you are, but still, life is today. You have to live today. And we went. And that is what money allows you to do. We were able to go And I was able to, instead of having a big party with friends and all that, that's not my thing. That's not what brings me joy. I can spend time with my friends anytime. I wanted exactly that. I said I want to wake up in Madrid, Spain, and I did. It was a blast. We went to Toledo, and it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful to have that experience, and that memory. And every time I see it, it shows up on my phone every now and then. It just warms my heart because it was a wish, a desire that came through. But you see, it required money. But money was just the resource we used to do the things that brought us joy and happiness and contentment. And yes, money can make you happy. It was the resource. It was the resource that we use. We had to, there was uh, airline fees, hotel, uh, what do you call it, tours, spending and eating and all of that. You needed money for all of that. So to conclude and to reiterate what I said, yes, I love money. And so do you. You just don't admit it. And when we don't admit it, we create our own deficit. But I say that, and I say that unapologetically. I love money, and money can bring you happiness. I'm going to leave you with that so that you can process that and use your critical thinking skills to see how it applies to you and how you can get rid of all that conditioning to vilify and demonize money and so forth, and get all of that traditional mindset out of your mind and evolve and progress so that you can prosper and live in abundance. I'm going to leave you with that. Every Thursday, we meet right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I appreciate you tuning in, and I just love coming here to share these nuggets with you. Now, if you are not able to join me on Thursdays, 2 p.m., you can always pick up the show. You see these icons over here: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick it up 24/7 and watch the show. In the meantime, I'm going to say ta-ta. I'm going to see you. There's just so much that's cooking in my life that things are going well. And I trust that things are going well for you as well. Remember, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As a woman thinks in her heart, so is she. Ta-ta, my friend. I will see you next week, same time, same place. And I'm looking for my thing here. 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, same place.